So the first speakers in this session are Kate Henaghan-Sykes and Adam Garrity. Now, look, they'll be sharing their experiences of the Finding Out Together project and team that they've been working together on. And the project that Adam has and really kind of exploring the reasons that Kate got involved and wanted to do it. So I'll hand over to Kate? Adam. Right.
Hello, my name's Adam Garrity, and I am an associate professor of psychology and behavioural medicine working within the Primary Care Research Centre that's part of the Faculty of Medicine. And it's really wonderful to have the opportunity to talk to you briefly about some essentially community outreach work that we did that has formed the foundation for a funded piece of research, and hopefully the foundation for a funded programme that will go on for about the next 5 or 6 years. So I first got involved as a researcher with this kind of outreach work when I had a specific piece of work funded by the NIHR, the National Institute for Health Research, where a key aspect of that work was reaching out and developing research, future research that would be as inclusive as possible. And particularly the research was kind of funded on this principle that we would speak to and involve as many people from different communities as we could. So when I got the funding for that project, I got in touch with what became the Finding Out Together group, which is an outreach group and a public contributor focused group within the Primary Care Research Centre. And Kate is the kind of a key public contributor and part of that team, and has been absolutely fantastic in supporting us as we put together what was a series of outreach events that we actually did with Sure Start. So that group has been fantastic at kind of facilitating quite unique work that we could do with communities, particularly communities who perhaps wouldn't usually engage with the university. So when I went to the Finding Out Together group, they had already started to establish links with Sure Start through and had started building those relationships, which were key and would become really quite important. And I particularly wanted to work with Sure Start because the area that they're in, Southampton, again, it's about reaching groups that perhaps wouldn't normally engage with research and perhaps wouldn't come to the university or wouldn't think to come to the university to sit with us in kind of steering meetings. So it would, by working with Sure Start, it would provide an opportunity to reach out and to go there, to physically go into a different space and work with a community group. Sure Start also had a number of programs that fitted quite well with the aim of the research, which was essentially mental health research. So I wanted to kind of tap into that, and so we could build a program where we would work and collaborate together, but it didn't feel too dissimilar from some of the events or the kind of practices that would go on with the parents who go there on a regular basis. So that's why Sure Start was so key. And with the Finding Out Together team, whereas I planned to kind of go there for a one-off meeting, we actually worked with the Sure Start and the Finding Out Together team and Kate to put on a 4-week program where we spent 2 hours over the course of a month, weekly, talking with a group of parents around about mental health and specifically about how to develop research and a way of a better way of caring for people who experience quite extreme sort of stress, which wouldn't be classed as psychopathology. And we worked in a collaborative way. We discussed, we ate lunch, and we engaged in craft activities, but all the time discussing these core central issues. And it was fantastic. And we were able to, together, working as a team, develop essentially what will now become the foundation of a research program that will go forward for the next 4 or 5 years. So just a quick summary on what I found to be perhaps the challenges. So some of the challenges of doing this kind of outreach work when you collaborate together with the community is that it can be quite different from what we usually do as researchers. So even though I've been involved with public contributors before, they would always come to university or in the digital kind of world would join us on Teams meetings. But here, the point was to really go out into the world and into the community directly. So it can be easy to stay in the kind of comfort zone of the university as an academic. And it was so important to avoid that and to go and meet with people where they usually meet, and not put on people to have to come to a different environment, such as a university, which has its own kind of pressures and potential stresses. So you have to kind of take the challenge to get out there and go into the world, as it were, and meet people in spaces which are, potentially are well known to them, so it's comfortable. And also it takes a lot of work, because this is all based really on relationships. If the strong relationships aren't there, then the work won't be quite as good. So the Finding Out Together team has done a lot of work building a relationship with Sure Start, and we did a lot of work in planning the events to make sure they were useful and it could be run as well as possible. So the challenges are you have to build the relationships, and it does take a lot of work. What worked well was, having put in that work, the group really gelled. Everyone saw the kind of common aim, and it was just a fantastic experience to get to know these people over 4 weeks, and by the end of it to have built essentially the foundation of a research program that will go on, and hopefully, if successful, the interventions that we kind of co-developed in a way will potentially be applied in their own communities, which would just be fantastic. So just to wrap up, so what do perhaps the other researchers need to consider to ensure that these things work well? Again, it does take time. So if you're planning a project with a kind of a community outreach focus, plan the time for it, because the more time you spend on the planning, the more time you spend on developing the relationships, I think the more likely it is to go well. And I think I will stop there. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
That's great. And so some really interesting observations around place and time required for these kinds of projects, and making those strong connections. And it's now time to hand over to Kate to talk about the project from her perspective.
So I'm excited to be here today as a public contributor, just to tell you about my involvement with the Finding Out Together team. So just to give you a little bit of background about me, I'm Kate Henaghan-Sykes, and I'm one of the lead PPI representatives with the SPCR. I've been a public contributor for 9 years, and I have more recently become involved with the SPCR. I'm a mum to 4 girls, I'm a psychology student, and I also have my own business running children's relaxation sessions. I've got a massive passion for all things to do with PPI, but in particular equality, diversity and inclusion within research. So to tell you about the Finding Out Together team, as Adam has just sort of spoke about in his video, the Finding Out Together team was is a collaborative venture between the Southampton School of Primary Care Research and the Wessex PIN. This project was led by Sonia Newman, who is the PPI officer, and along with Barney Jones and Rachel Hart, who are the PPI officers for the Wessex PIN. And the project, it aimed to bring research in the community together, taking the stance that breakthroughs in research can't happen unless we talk to as many people from as many different backgrounds as possible. My involvement initially began during the planning and the grant application stage back in 2019. I have experience of working with the community in various different capacities. So having done that and having this opportunity, it gave me this unique chance to kind of combine my 2 worlds together. So following the initial meetings, I was named as a co-applicant on the grant, and the funding was approved in 2020. And as you can imagine, 2020 came with its own set of challenges thanks to COVID. And whilst this did slow down some of the progress of this project, progress was still made. So how it was done, Sonia Newman made contact with the local Show Start Centre in Southampton. If you're not familiar with Show Start, they provide essential services to parents and children, offering like practical health, wellbeing, social skills in some of the most underserved areas of our community. So when we were in a position where restrictions were eased in 2020, this allowed us to start building up relationships with those from the Show Start team, and members of the team started to become present within the centre, so attending like summer days, drop-in sessions, and really just start to become a familiar presence to both workers and parents within the Show Start Centre. So my involvement really started again in autumn 21, where we started holding planning meetings for how we could move this project forward. And this coincided with Adam's project receiving the programme development grant approval. So collaboratively, we developed the Food for Thought project. The premise behind this is some of the best conversations that we can ever have are going to be the ones that we have over the kitchen table. So from that, we created the Listening Cafe, where over food and over craft, we could have some real candid conversations. And the amazing thing is with this particular format is it's absolutely transferable to any community group in any setting for any research project. So for Adam's particular project, we decided to run these sessions over a 4-week period, every Wednesday for 2 weeks. Every Wednesday for 2 hours. And this was being facilitated within an already established parent group within Show Start. So that's the basis of what the Finding Out Together Listening Cafe is. And how did it go? Well, when we were planning it, it looked really good, but to see it in practice, it was amazing. The 4 sessions, they flowed so well. And before I came on here today, I was trying to think of a word that I could use to kind of describe the session. And I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and we came up with this word empowerment, and it was just seeing that in action. Adam had clearly explained to those in the group that the conversations that they were having were directly contributing to the direction of his research project, and that these conversations that were taking place had the potential to make a difference in the future. And this was really powerful. And me as a public contributor myself, who has experience, like many, experience frustration within healthcare, and you can often be left feeling disillusioned or disheartened. And you could see that throughout the whole group, there was a sense of empowerment by being able to feedback to make a difference. So what worked well? Well, it was very, very relaxed and very informal. Food was very, very popular. The crafts were a fantastic way of helping those who perhaps might not have spoke up to open up and participate in some really, really good conversations. Adam steered the conversations really well, and I know that he gained some incredible insight to assist towards his project. As a whole, we built up a really fantastic rapport with the group, and this was reflected in the feedback forms that we handed out each week. So finally, from a personal perspective, this for me has been one of the most intensive and amazing PPI projects that I've ever been involved in during the 9 years. The communication from all involved in the team has been outstanding. I've been fully included. I've received regular updates along the way, and it's refreshing and it's an exciting approach to PPI, and it's something that I feel very proud of and just want to tell everybody about it. So thank you very much.